So in this section, I want to talk about routing, and I want to use our first external package. So if you look at our main.go file, you'll notice that our routes are all set up here. And that's okay, but it's really kind of awkward when you start getting a more complex web application to have all of your routes right in your main folder or your main routine. So what I want to do is create a separate file. So I'm going to go back to Command Web and create a new Go file, which I will call routes.go. All right, that's still part of our main package. And in here, I'm going to have a function, and I'm going to call it funcroutes. And it's going to take one argument, which I will call app. And it is, of course, our pointer to config.app, config. And it's going to return an HTTP handler. And you'll see why before too long. Handler. All right. And inside of that, I'm actually going to create a new HTTP handler, which we often call a MUX, or a multiplexer. And I'm going to do that using a package. I'm not going to use the built-in routing functions that are part of the Go standard library. I want to use a third-party package, and we're going to use two, but we're going to start with one and then we'll switch to the other. We're going to use one that is actually really good at routing. It's a very simple one, and I'm going to go to my web browser and show you what it is. It's here at github.com/bmizerany. I have no idea how to pronounce that, /pat. And it's the PAT router. So this is a package that we can import and use in our own code. So let's just scroll down and have a look at it. How do we install it? Go get github.com/, all right, I'll copy that. I will go back to my IDE, open the terminal window, and I'll clear the screen. And I'll just paste that command right in there. Go get github.com/ that B word /pat. And it gets it. All right. Now what happened when I did that? Well, if I go and look at my Go mod, you'll see that it now includes this package that was automatically put in there for us. All right. So I've got it installed. How do I use the darn thing? Well, it's pretty straightforward. First thing I'm going to do is create a multiplexer, which is actually an HTTP handler. So I will say mux is assigned the value of pat.new. All right, so I now have a mux, and I can just return that. And in between where I create it and where I return it is where I actually set up my routes. And we only have two routes right now, so let's put them in. The first thing you should know is that MUX has some methods built in, and you can see them listed here in my IDE, and you probably have a similar thing in yours. And we want a GET request, and the GET request takes two arguments. A pattern, which is the string, which is simply the route we're matching. All right, we can do that. And then it takes an http.handlerfunc. Now we need to cast what we get to an HTTP handler function, and the function we want is the one that's built into our handlers, and that's the home function. So we can simply go handlers, handlers.repo.home. And there you go. So that will actually route to our home function. And we can do the same thing here. /about should go to the about function. All right, so I've got this function routes, which takes app, which I'm not using, but I might need it at some point, so I'm going to pass that. How do we actually use this? Well, again, that's not too complex. All we need to do is make some changes in our main Go. We're not going to use these anymore, so I'll comment those out for right now. And instead of this, which is listen and serve, I'm going to comment out that too as well, so we're going to change it. What we need to do is actually create a new variable called serve, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it serve, SRV, because I am serving. And I'm going to make that equal to a pointer to HTTP server. And that has some fields. All right. Those fields are, what's our address? What port are we listening to? Well, we know what that is. That's our port number. And we also want to pass it our handlers. And in this case, rather than writing them as we did up here as individual functions, I'm actually going to call our routes and pass it the app. And I got two commas there. And handler is singular, not plural. And this can't be that. It needs to be that, a reference to the app. And what do we want to do? That's all we really need to do at this point, is pass those in there. We're going to improve this as time goes on. But now I need to actually start that bit, start the actual server. And we do it as follows. Error equals serve, listen, and serve. And if there's an error, well, log.fatal error. So when I run this now, if this compiles, let's see if it does. It is go run command web star.go, and I do need the star now because now I have 2 files in my web application. Let's hope this runs. And it does. So let's go back to our web browser and go to localhost 8080. And there it is. And /about. And there it is. Perfect. So now we've isolated our application roots, so we can get rid of these commented out bits and have a look at our full main function and see what it looks like now. That's much cleaner. So we're now getting down to the point where we can actually put our roots in one folder. So the pat router is fine for our purposes today, but in the next lecture I want to swap out pat for another one called chi, or possibly she. I've never actually heard it said out loud, but it's a different router. And we're just going to do the swap to show you how easy it can be with Go modules to switch it out. Plus, the chi router has some built-in middleware that we'll be using as well. So we'll talk about that in the next lecture.